Good evening, everyone. And thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Samantha Borum. I'm Assistant Principal for Learning Innovation here at CathWest Innovation College. Tonight, we're having our second virtual event. On Tuesday night, we held our first live open evening, and it was a great success. Tonight, I'm joined by Kathy Larkin, our principal here at CathWest Innovation College, and my colleague, John Wills, Assistant Principal for Industry and Workplace Learning. And we hope this event tonight is successful for you. And we do hope that John clicks ahead for the slides for starters. And we do hope that you enjoy this evening. We might start together by doing an acknowledgement of country. Thank you, John. Today, I would like to acknowledge the Darug people who are the traditional custodians of this land here in Western Sydney. We acknowledge the people who have loved and cared for this land for thousands of years. We would like to pay a respect to the elders of the Darug Nation, both past and present, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal people present here tonight with us this evening. So we have a few goals for us for tonight. First of all, welcome. Our goal for tonight is to present information to you about our trade pathway here at CathWest. Before I hand over to Kathy, I would like to encourage you to post your questions. There is a little chat bar down the bottom, a question and answer, and we will hopefully be able at the end of the night to answer as many questions as possible. At the end of the formal presentation, we'll have that time and we'll also share information about what's next. So before I ask John again to keep pressing forward, I'd like to formally introduce Mrs. Kathy Larkin, our college principal here at CathWest Innovation College. Over to you, Kathy.
Thank you very much, Sam. And thank you, John, our technical operator for this evening, until I introduce him shortly to tell us more, especially about the trade pathway here at CathWest Innovation College. So a very warm welcome to you all. I know that some of you participated in our inquiry pathway evening on Tuesday night, so welcome back. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, you are especially welcome. At the moment, I'm sitting in one of our training facilities at the McCarthy campus of CathWest Innovation College, and just behind me is a photograph and also one of the awards, many awards in this room that recognise the great work that has gone before us when it comes to training and the wonderful support from our diocese. So just two examples of that. There's a photograph behind me of two of the finalists from the Western Sydney Training Awards in 2017, Mark and Kira. Mark was in fact successful in moving on to the New South Wales Training Awards. And one step further, last year, CDP won the Small Training Provider of the Year award at the Australian Training Awards. So we have a very strong history in our diocese of supporting vocational education and various pathways when it comes to learning. And that will have particular relevance for what you're going to hear this evening. If you are at home or wherever you might be at the moment on your device and you are in year 10, right now you are very seriously exploring what the possibilities are for you for the continuation of your learning journey. And I'm delighted that you are undertaking that exploration, because that's extremely important in informing decisions for what you should be doing for next year. Some of you, of course, are in year 9, and we know that CathWest Innovation College actually begins in year 10. So you too will be looking at possibilities for the future. Your work tonight is really to see what is the point of difference in terms of CathWest Innovation College, because our catchphrase is school done differently. So I invite you to examine this very carefully and see in what ways we are different. CathWest Innovation College is a senior college for students in years 10, 11 and 12, and we encourage students to see our environment as a workplace of learning, where we integrate the world of work and the world of learning, and we really accelerate you in regard to both of those things. We've created at CathWest a very flexible learning environment, and examples of that include our use of space, our use of time, our timetable, if you want to call it that, and also our dress code. Our focus is on empowering students to build on the passions and the interests that they have. And so tonight, I invite you to reflect upon what are your interests and have some of those interests even developed into a passion area. We do that, but we also ensure that you are eligible for the New South Wales Record of School Achievement and also the New South Wales Higher School Certificate. Our programs cover a lot of credentials, including the highest credential we have in New South Wales in terms of secondary education. It's important to note that there's a difference between the ATAR and the HSC. Often they're seen as one and the same. They're not. We will provide you eligibility for the high school certificate, but we are a non-ATAR pathway. We don't, however, really want to be defined by what we're not. And what I'd like you to discover tonight is indeed what we are. One thing we are to that end is an environment where we liberate you from high school certificate exams. More to come. So John, if you could, thank you, move me to the next slide. So as we reflect on our learning journey and what might be possible for us in the future, I invite you to pray with me. And we pray in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, as we consider our future, open our eyes, minds, and hearts to see and know you in all that we experience and in all our encounters. Guide us in our decisions, accompany us on our journey, and gift us with peace, hope, fulfillment, and joy. Amen. My work tonight is to give you an overview of CathWest Innovation College. John's work will be to give you some of the details. At CathWest, we have two distinct pathways, and you see them there on the slide, the trade pathway and the inquiry pathway. And in fact, you see some examples of the learning journeys of the 2020 students who are enrolled at CathWest. Our inquiry pathway covers many student career aspirations, and the webinar that you might have seen on Tuesday night gives you more details about that. We will be posting that recorded webinar onto our website and Facebook very soon, and so if you missed that, you will be able to see the details about the inquiry pathway. Nonetheless, if you ever have any questions sooner or later, please feel free to contact the college and someone will be able to make contact with you. Tonight, our focus is really on the trade pathway. And as you can see from this diagram, our students are currently enrolled in a vast array of trade programs and qualifications. Our trade pathway allows students to undertake training and industry placement experiences that are aligned with their chosen industry. Alongside this training, we work very closely with our students to give them opportunities to develop transferable skills to equip them for the future. Certainly at the college, you hear a lot about skills. That is the focus for our learning. I'm going to share with you now some slides of the spaces both at the McCarthy campus and also at Loyola campus, given that both campuses offer the trade pathway. Our college is specifically designed for students to be engaged with their peers, with the staff of the college and industry experts. When we designed these spaces, we decided that CathWest would be a place to cater for the needs of our students and our families, but also the local and broader community. Our trade pathway, as I mentioned, is held at is conducted at Loyola campus in Mount Druitt, which you can see here, and also at McCarthy campus in Emu Plains. Our staff are always at the disposal of anyone that comes into centre management, and our centre management facilities are, as implied by the word centre, a central gathering point for our communities on both our campuses. As you enter the Loyola campus, you are greeted by a well-equipped staff and student-run cafe. This replaces the typical school canteen. It allows students to gather amongst friends in an adult space where everyone is treated as an equal. Just like what occurs in many businesses, at the McCarthy campus, we have access to a food truck which visits the campus daily and gives you access to a mixture of hot and cold food and drinks. The patron saint of CathWest Innovation College is St. Ignatius, and you see a statue of St. Ignatius, which is at the heart of our Loyola campus. Ignatius was born hundreds of years ago in a place called Loyola in Spain, but he was obviously a man ahead of his time. One of his quotes is to adapt to time and circumstance, and that's indeed what CathWest lives by. I'd now like to introduce to you John Wills. You've already met Sam, our Assistant Principal for Learning Innovation, and John has a special focus on industry and workplace learning, the trade pathway. So over to you, John.
Good evening, and thank you, Kathy, and welcome everybody. So CathWest Innovation College truly does allow students to build upon their passions and allow students the flexibility to achieve the ROSA, as Kathy's mentioned, and the HSC, as well as a range of other credentials. When students apply to attend CathWest, we hold interviews with each and every one of the potential students with their families, parents and guardians. This interview allows us to discuss the needs and explore what passions and interests you might have and to determine the learning experiences that would suit your needs. It is then we commence our partnership with you and look towards forming a successful senior journey. When developing CathWest, the team spent a lot of time looking at ways to learn and what makes learning a bit more flexible, what are the challenges for senior students, and what makes learning more enjoyable for students. At CathWest, we realised that students want to really take control of their own learning and feel more empowered to pursue their interests and passions. CathWest has been designed to meet the needs of the ever-changing world, and I think VET itself has become very responsive to those changes. And just through COVID-19, listening to what government's response is to how we deal with this and the economy and jobs, VET is playing an essential part to that. Therefore, the trades and other vocational areas and employability areas are at the forefront at the moment. If you have an ambition to work in the trade industry, we've been designed to equip you with those for developing those skills with the resources we have available. And I'm sitting in one of those very well-equipped rooms now. This is the automotive training facility at CathWest at the McCarthy campus at Emu Plains. All of our students are provided with a mentor, and that's a major point of difference, I suppose, with CathWest. They're mentors with them both in the school environment and in the workplace. So they've got a great understanding. It's somebody for students to call upon at any time. So we'll talk more about the mentoring and how that fits into the school-based apprenticeships later on. We also recognise that our students in this ever-changing world need to build transferable skills that they can apply in any industry and any profession. When we undertake these skills experiences, we gather evidence. It's really important that we collect the evidence from all the experiences, whether it's at school, it's at home, or at work. And we want to record those experiences so the students can show potential employers what they are able to do. And we do that through electronic portfolio. And I'll just pass over to this is our skills passport. And I'll let you read the range of skills that are on there while I just discuss it a little bit more. That in the past, and you would maybe be aware of our history as two trade training centres within the diocese, Loyola and McCarthy Trade Training Centres. Our focus in our previous years has really just been on the employability and workplace skills. But in forming CathWest, we know we have to broaden it. We know we need students to be able to have evidence of all of these skills, and they're all going to be important. So throughout the time at CathWest, students will have an opportunity to learn, develop and demonstrate skills to prepare them to learn independently and collaboratively. The Skills Passport will be used as a platform to store their skills, credentials, and a way to demonstrate their ability to complete their work to a high standard across multiple learning experiences within a variety of environments. We know that this generation of students will, on average, hold 21 different jobs throughout 7 different employability areas. So again, being able to take what you've learnt and transfer it to another job, that's the key. That's what we want all our students to graduate the HSC with, is the range of skills that you can see before you. We've spoken about what students want and how to engage them and everything else, but we've also wanted to be able to support students to complete school-based apprenticeships. And this is the heart of the trade training centres, and something that we would never be walking away from, and it's our flexible timetable or schedule. And so as you can see from this example timetable, our students have a very flexible approach to learning that's designed to meet their needs, so the students can complete their HSC certificate alongside their trade training and their workplace commitments. Students have 1 day a week which is dedicated to their trade training, which is held on either one of our campuses, or it may be held off-site at a TAFE college or another training provider's office, one of our partners. Training sites will differ between trades, and you'll be informed more about that through your interview process. The Flexible Learning Day is purely designed for students to work in their school-based apprenticeship or traineeship. Students will work within their trade for 1 day a week, but we also stop all classes. So students do not attend our campus for 2 weeks every term whilst they immerse themselves in the industry. And that's whether they have a school-based apprenticeship or not. So our students are always out there in industry forming those connections. I'm sure there'll be lots and lots of questions tonight about school-based apprenticeships and traineeships, and I'm just going to go through what the basics of it is. Then at the conclusion of this evening or tomorrow, we'll send you a link, as Kathy's already mentioned, but we'll send you a link to this presentation. But along with that, I will ensure that you get a fact sheet about school-based apprenticeships and traineeships, and hopefully that will reinforce what the program is all about, what a school-based apprenticeship is. But essentially, a school-based apprenticeship is students completing the first year of their apprenticeship in years 11 and 12. So it's another way to look at it. It's a part-time apprenticeship. Students do their first year split up. So they might, what a normal apprentice would do from January to June, that's what the year 11 part of the school-based apprenticeship is. And then what a normal first year apprentice would do through July through to December, that's what students undertake during year 12. That's to really simplify what happens there. There's a number of minimum days students need to work on the job, and that's where our calendar comes in, our timetable, our schedule. That's why we ensure students can stop classes for 2 weeks each term, and why we have a flexible day built in. Our trades such as plumbing and electrical, they require students to be in paid employment for 180 days over the 2 years. So we've designed our program to ensure no student would miss any formal classes so they can complete that 180 days. A traineeship is a little bit different in the fact that you'll complete the whole traineeship whilst you're in year 11 and 12. Okay, and I'll go through, when I list some of the trades in a moment, what courses fall into traineeship and what fall into apprenticeship. Back to the apprenticeships, when you graduate from CathWest at the end of year 12, you then move into, in the following calendar year, you move into the second year of your apprenticeship, then you just finish the apprenticeship off as normal. So move to second year, third year, then the fourth year on the job component for most trades. To be eligible to move into that second year, you have to have a school-based apprenticeship. So if you don't have a school-based apprenticeship, you still can access our HSC program. You can still attend all the trade training or TAFE courses. However, it'll just differ what qualification you leave the college with. And I'll be able to explain that a bit more later with that. So the good news is we have another opportunity to go through all of this with you at interview, and we will go through that in much more detail. But then everybody who's enrolled at CathWest will attend a school-based apprenticeship information session in a smaller group. And it's usually no more than 20 to 30 families in that group. And our leader of learning, who looks after all of the apprenticeships and traineeships, Tim Summers, himself and I will be there to go through in great detail what is required of a school-based apprentice and trainee, what you're committing to, what the employer is committing to, and we give you a lot of tips on how to make sure you become successful in that. So I'll just list it on the screen here. We do sort of break the trades up into what we call heavy and light areas. It doesn't mean one courses are harder than others, and I just state that because I've had feedback before around that. Why are we calling something light? Why is something heavy? But there's a list of those trades. So when we talk heavy trades, we're talking more your construction-based sort of trades, heavy trades there. So at CathWest, you have the opportunity to enrol in carpentry, shop fitting. Civil construction is a new one that we took on last year, and we have students working on some of the big infrastructure projects here in Western Sydney and actually all over Sydney. And there was a great article of some of our students that are working on the Parramatta Light Rail that was published just recently by Transport New South Wales. So the civil construction is one of the traineeship courses, and that just allows students to get a bit of a taste of what's involved in civil construction, because it is such a massive area. And we've partnered up with companies CPB, Lend-Lease, John Holland, and our training provider, Health Safety Advisory. And we've got students working on those massive projects. They'll be involved in the airport, Western Sydney Airport, some of the other metro train lines. We've got students working at the Rozelle interchange as well. Electrotechnology is obviously an electrician, plumbing, brick and block laying, automotive, landscaping, metal fabrication. So all of those trades we can offer you, and most of those would run out of a CathWest campus. When we move on to our other trades, so we have commercial cookery. So that's if you want to become a chef. Very different, important for you to know. In most high schools, no matter what system you're in, students undertaking hospitality are focusing on the food and beverage component these days. If you want to become a chef, CathWest is the place for you. You'll be focusing in on becoming an actual chef. With the food and beverage course, wonderful course, but that's more giving you some more rounded skills where you can work in the front of house. You do a little bit of cooking, but it's more about your front of house and serving customers, those sorts of things. Here at CathWest, it is definitely becoming a chef and learning all the skills required. We have our early childhood education and care, so childcare, hairdressing, business and financial services is another sort of new focus area for us. All of our students do study some form of business course, and I'll go through that in a moment. But if you really want to work in an office environment or have the desire to get into a diploma or do something within the business world, the business and financial services package is fantastic. We have the opportunity for students to undertake entertainment, and what an opportunity CathWest has our Loyola campus based right next door to the Western Sydney Coliseum there at West HQ. So we're really excited to be able to link up with West HQ and offer our students some opportunities there at the Coliseum. And then retail services. This is a new one for 2021 as well, where we know so many of you out there already have part-time jobs working at McDonald's, KFC, Big W, Kmart, all these places. You could combine that part-time job, we would need to speak to your boss, of course, but you could work as a trainee, and potentially you could be working up to 2 days a week during your school timetable time, and only coming to school 3 days a week. so that, you know, you could be earning your money and you're not working, potentially having to work nights. So there's lots of opportunities there for retail services, and many of you would already have jobs in retail services. So it's something we're really excited to start exploring with potential students next year. So Kathy showed you the big diagram of inquiry and trade pathway earlier. And on here, we can zoom in a bit closer. And this is all the different trades that our students are involved in this year. So as mentioned previously tonight, our goal at CathWest is to sit with you and help you follow your passion. So if you're interested in finding an SBAT or a school-based apprenticeship or traineeship in your passion area, all you need to do is ask. You ask the question, we'll work with you to see what's possible. And you can see a great different variety there. So students, you know, we've even got people in nursing, sign craft, motorcycle mechanic, mobile plant, we've got refrigeration mechanics, lots of different things there. So we've got a florist student becoming a florist. So it's very exciting, all the different things that we can do. I just wanted to, before I go back into the trades and show you some of the trade facilities, is just touch on what Kathy was talking about with these flexible and dynamic learning environments that we have at CathWest. So as you can see here, these are images from across both campuses, but we've got great spaces that allow you to work collaboratively and also separately. So all those surfaces of those tables there, it's fantastic to watch students problem solve on these whiteboard tables. You notice they're nice big tables where everybody, you know, in the room there, you can see there's only 2 tables in the room. Everyone's working together. We're not sitting up in rows. It's not like it might have been for mum and dad when you're at school. It's everyone together learning off each other. And then we've got some nice breakout spaces around the college as well. What I think students really enjoy at CathWest is being able to work outside as well. Our outdoor learning environments allow students to work amongst nature, have the flexibility to work when and how they like, and all the areas of the campus are places for students. There's not really anywhere where we don't say students can't go. It's all about learning, making sure people are comfortable and achieving what they need to do. So there's a few more of our other outdoor spaces. So Kathy mentioned the cafe and the food truck and everything else, but we also have our own student kitchens, and the students take ownership of this. It's not something the staff go and clean. It's not something our cleaners go and clean. It's like any workplace. We all, you know, they're self-cleaning kitchens, and the students take great pride and care in there. So there's microwaves, hot water, those sorts of things. But I must say the 2-minute noodles do get a bit of a hit out there. Kids are pretty excited to be able to cook their 2-minute noodles at school. Just going to run through some of our spaces now. So I'm not going to talk to every single one, but if you go onto our website, there's a trade pathway section. And if you scroll down, you'll see some links to some virtual tours. And you can click on and go into each of the facilities at both campuses and have a proper look around. So for parents, no different to if you're looking at realestate.com and going to some of those websites there. So as you can see, these spaces are state of the art. They're no different to what you'd find in a TAFE college. It's fantastic. And we hire these facilities out to other training organisations as well. And because that, you know, it is exactly what people are after to make sure they can deliver high quality training. We have our childcare or early childhood rooms. This space here at our Loyola campus is brand new as well. This also has the ability to become our own sort of daycare centre or creche, and we'll be looking forward to involving our early childhood education and care students in running that daycare facility. Shop fitting, so if people aren't sure what that one is, that's for students that might be interested in building kitchens and cabinet work and all those sorts of things. So another well laid out room. We have our different hairdressing salons, and they're the training salons. This salon here is brand new at the Loyola campus also. It serves a few purposes for us. The main one being that this is where we can bring clients in for our students to work on, with the clients and get the practice. But our longer term goal, and it's been exciting to have some people already doing this, is we're able to hire this facility out or lease it out, or even and just let students practice having their own clients. So this is open to our past students. If they want to get started with their own business, they can come and talk to us and say, you know, to Kathy or Sam, myself, I'd really like, can I hire a chair? I've got, you know, I've got some time. I don't work on Wednesdays. My salon's shut, but I wouldn't mind starting my own business. And yeah, can I hire a chair? And so that's the purpose of this salon, that it becomes quite operational, and it's been great to have people in there using it this year, and we want to see that improve, the uptake of that improve. Also, like the room I'm in now, the automotive workshop, we want to be able to have our students come back, and again, if they want to work on their friend's car or do something, as long as they're qualified and everything else, they'll be able to hire out our facility, or we'll be able to give them a bit of a leg up and use the facility, the hoists and the car lifts and everything else that are here. And then just moving through our commercial kitchen. So again, very well set up. You can even see the technology there in the background. So that's one of our guest trainers that came in and was able to film himself what he was doing there, so the students can all see it on the several TV screens that are around the room. And electrotechnology, I know it's a very popular course as well. So as you can see, the students have their practice boards there where they're doing all their wiring and everything else for the electrotechnology. So we are almost at the question and answer stage of the evening. So start to get your questions ready and just put them into that Q&A box down there. So what will we do from here? So we will make sure we contact everyone who registered for the night. We have the opportunity, and it's been really tough this year with COVID and everything else, but as those restrictions have started to ease, we have the opportunity now to run small group tours. So contact us if you'd like to come and see the facilities in action, or talk to any of our staff around our program. The website's a great place to go to, and I'll flick up the homepage in a moment there. But really, if you've got a question, it's just as easy as emailing us or giving us a ring. So the website there is a great place for you to go. It has information on all our pathways, how to be, even parents out there, you might want to become a partner and partner up with CathWest to support our students across the college. And before I do go on, my key takeaways for tonight is that you understand at CathWest, you can complete your HSC in a Catholic school. You can begin specialised trade training in Certificate 2 and 3 courses in these state-of-the-art facilities. We have extensive industry placement. As I said, 1 day a week plus, you get 2 weeks every term to be immersed in your industry. We have a very supportive curriculum, and I will just go over what that curriculum is, because there's probably some questions there. What all of our students undertake. And number one, we're a Catholic school, so there'll be some form of religious education there. Then, all students for the New South Wales HSC must study English. So we study English studies. It's a great course, and it allows students to explore all the different text types that they'll be required to complete their trade, but also to gain all those transferable skills that we spoke about earlier. Okay. Then this has been brand new for CathWest this year, and every single person, at least for year 11, will be enrolled in a maths course in maths. And that's really important. And that's from feedback from our employers. They came back to us and said, if you're looking at doing any changes with your trade program, you must include maths on the curriculum. We've also done that because we know students have the minimum standards test that they need to pass to gain that HSC now. So it gives us at least a year to work with students if they need any extra help with their numeracy skills. As I spoke to you earlier about doing a business course, every student at a minimum is enrolled in Certificate 2 in Business Services. That allows a student to get an understanding of what it would be like to run their own business, to keep their records organised, to learn how to invoice clients, all of those sorts of things. So at a minimum, we do a Certificate 2, and many of our students do a Certificate 3 in business as well. Along with those courses, we have another one called industry-based learning, and that's where those immersion blocks, the industry placement blocks, are linked. You get credit for the time you do in the workplace. So it's not too onerous for students. It is really important they attend all of their blocks, their block time, but that they keep reflective journals and again, collect all that evidence to add to their skills passport. So that's where the industry-based learning fits in. The other subject the students obviously undertake is their trade, and that would count towards their 2 units. So that's hopefully answered some of the questions about what do students study, what courses are there. I will say though, at CathWest, we talk a lot about choice and everything else, but in the trade pathway, the choice is the trade. We then give you that curriculum package that's non-ATAR, that supports you to be the best person you can be in that trade or vocational area. So it's not like some of you might be sitting in your current schools now and you are being asked to select, you need to select 12 or 13 units and you've got a massive book you're trying to go through. At CathWest Trade Pathway, your only thing you need to worry about is what trade do I really want to do? Okay. And my main takeaway for everybody is that this is not an easy option. And sometimes when I'm having those interviews and I ask students, well, why would you like to become an electrician, or why do you want to become a carpenter? And sometimes it's really just because people think, oh, it'll be a lot easier than staying in my current school. And that's not the case. It is a hard road. You need to be really passionate and really committed to your trade. You don't really have an option of swapping trades. It is basically doing your research now, using the time up until next year to ensure if it's an electrician you want to be, or you want to be a hairdresser, or you want to become a chef, you really need to investigate it, interrogate it, make sure it's what you want to do. What are the good things about the job? What are the bad things about the job? What hours do I have to work? All of those things, because we are set up, we are very niche in this pathway, but we're set up to support you to become whatever you would like to become. So that's my big takeaway. It's not an easy option. There's no easy way to get your HSC. There's just many pathways to get the HSC or attain the HSC. So for that information, go to our website, look on the trade training area. We'll be updating that regularly through the year as courses change. So you'll get information on that. And as I've left up on the screen here, this is sort of the way forward now. So as we'll obviously email you information tomorrow, but on our website, you'll find links to all of the enrolment forms and everything else that you normally would have picked up if you turned up here in person. You can download those forms and get those into us. And it'd be great if you can get that in by the end of week 9, so Friday, the 26th of June. If you need any of those packages, I'll leave that web address up, the email address. So it's CathWest Enrollments, and just take note of the 2 L's in the enrollment address there. And yeah, all of everything else there. So once you've lodged your application, we'll then be in contact about having an interview with you and everything else that goes on with that. So I'll pass over to Sam. I'm sure there's a few questions there that people might want some answers to. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, John. Heaps of questions. So thank you so much. Really, really appreciate them. I've been frantically writing some of these down, and because of the numbers of them, I won't introduce who has asked the question. And quite a number of them will go to John because they're specific about the trade delivery. So if you don't mind, John, are you ready?
I'm ready to go.
Okay. If there is a trade that isn't on your list, can you please undertake another type of trade? So if they can do an individual trade, I know you mentioned it, but they would like a little bit more clarity around that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, so as we've said, we want to support all students to complete whatever they would like to do. So for example, you wouldn't have seen refrigeration mechanic up on that list, but we have several refrigeration mechanics here at CathWest. What students need to do in that instance is, number one, identify what they'd like to do. For them to access our program, well, it's no problem accessing our program here at the school. The hardest part then is getting into a TAFE course. What we need for you to be able to get into the TAFE course is to acquire that school-based apprenticeship before the end of the college year. Okay, so if you can find an employer who's willing to take you on, and most of those trades will range between the commitment for the employer is going to range between 144 days and 180 days. That's what they commit to. They pay you as a first year apprentice. So if you can find an employer wanting that will take you on in your passion area that's not listed on our list, certainly CathWest is the place for you, but we can help you with all those details. So best to get in contact with us, send us an email, and myself or Tim Summers, our leader of learning, will be able to look into that for you. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, John. Can you just, if you can, make people dizzy for a second and jump back to the weekly timetable, just so that they can have a look more specifically at the subjects. There's quite a number of people requesting more information about what the subjects are that students choose. One of the related questions in relation to that is, are there varying levels of English and mathematics offered for students to undertake at CathWest?
Okay, great question. So no, there's not varying levels, but there's obviously differentiation in all our classrooms. So it is because we've gone with that non-ATAR, non-examinable HSC for students. These are the courses that we've picked. So it's our English studies, the math standard. Our religion course will be more linked to more social justice and outreach programs under the framework of what the Catholic Education Diocese of Parramatta provides. So that's how that will work. And then you can see the industry-based learning and the business services. So what we do ask of students is that they're working, pushing the boundaries of their own ability. So if they're finding work a bit easier, it's about talking to their teacher and asking for a bit more feedback, asking what can they be doing better. So these courses aren't necessarily easier, they just don't have an exam attached to them. So the nature of delivery, teachers aren't, I suppose, in a traditional HSC where students have to sit exams, teachers have to really make sure they're delivering on the syllabus outcomes, but also ensuring that students can remember lots and lots of different facts so they can essentially regurgitate it into an essay or a long extended response answer. With these courses, we don't need you to do that. We can focus on the areas, the outcomes that are really, really going to help you and are really going to complement all those transferable skills. So it's about us picking topics within those syllabuses that are going to help you become the best tradesperson or the best hairdresser, best childcare worker that you can be. Thanks, Sam.
Very quick question for you, Kathy, while John's flicking. Learning support for students with special needs or learning needs in relation to dyslexia, those sorts of things. Do we accommodate students who have specific learning needs?
Thanks very much, Sam, and thanks for that question. And the answer is definitely. We have a very strong diversity team here at CathWest across both campuses who can very much support students with special needs. It would be important to identify those at the interview so that we can be ready. We can have a conversation, we can see what you need, we can see what support there is within and beyond the college and go from there. So we do need you in the actual enrolment application and in subsequent interviews to discuss that with us for us to see how we can best support you.
Thank you, Kathy. This question is for you, John, in relation to campuses. Are specific trades offered at both campuses, one campus, and how often will students need to travel between the two campuses?
Okay, I won't flick back to that slide again with the timetable. What we have ensured is that that our trade training delivery happens on one day of the week for each year group. So for year 11, at the moment, that takes place on a Wednesday. So students, if they're engaged in a trade, unless it's something external, like the example before, like refrigeration mechanic that might run at a TAFE on a different day, 99% of students will be doing their TAFE or the trade training on a Wednesday. Most of the trades I listed there on both campuses. So the only differences are at McCarthy at Emu Plains, we offer bricklaying and generally the metals and engineering course is at Emu Plains. At Mount Druitt at the Loyola campus. Our commercial cookery definitely takes place there, and we also offer shop fitting. What we do though, to make sure a trade can run, if we have an enrolment and say we only had, say at the Emu Plains campus, we only had 3 students interested in hairdressing, but at the Loyola campus, we had 8 students interested in hairdressing. Instead of saying to those 3 students that have enrolled at Emu Plains, you can't do hairdressing, we combine the class. So those students would then, because where the majority of students are enrolled, in the example I'm giving, we would run the hairdressing course at Mount Druitt at Loyola campus. So at the moment, we don't have too many of our trades that are shared, but it does happen year to year. At the moment, the automotive students in year 11 come to the McCarthy campus. As I said, the commercial cookery students are at the Loyola campus. So our goal is to run all of those courses at both campuses. It just depends on numbers.
Thank you, John. Can I give you 3 quick firing questions, John?
Yes, you can.
Can students commence the trade pathway in year 10?
Okay, so this is a question that comes up, and we did have that similar question on Tuesday night. I think you remember Sam and Kathy. So at present, you can't start the school-based apprenticeship component whilst you're in year 10 at CathWest. What you can do is probably have a look, if you haven't, go and have a look at the inquiry pathway webinar. Just have a look at what's happening for students in year 10. If you identify through that program and you know your passion area, for example, is to be a carpenter, and it'd be through that interview, you would see, can CathWest in year 10 provide me with an opportunity to explore that passion, to prepare me to make sure I'm ready for the trade training component that could commence in year 11 at CathWest? So I think the answer is yes for a certain type of student. So it's making sure you think you are ready to be a bit more of an independent learner. I'd be asking those questions. If you want to get into a trade, I'd really be looking at what's my literacy skills look like? What are my numeracy skills looking like? And does the inquiry pathway at CathWest, will that provide me with those opportunities? But certainly that would be your way in year 10. But also to keep an eye out for what courses we may offer students in year 10, like short courses. So keep an eye out at your school to see if there are any pre-apprenticeship courses being run out of CathWest.
So my second quick question is there a selection criteria?
Yes, so very good question. It is just around suitability for trade. But it's also about your application in your current school, how you are travelling. I suppose when you go out onto a work site, we need to be able to ensure your safety and the safety of others around you, and know that you're ready and mature enough to go to work. So we do look at, your year 10 school report will mean something. We'll be going through that. We'll be asking questions around that. The criteria is basically that you've got the passion for the trade. You're not just doing it for the sake of doing it, and it's not a try trade. You have, as I said before, really explored those options, and it does come down to suitability. And I know that question was asked around learning needs and everything else. I'll be upfront and say we have a lot of students apply to be electricians, but at times we have to turn those students back because their numeracy skills aren't quite there yet. So in those cases, it's sometimes you might be better off staying in your current school and working on your numeracy skills. So when you graduate year 12, you are ready to become an electrician.
Thank you very much, John. And the last of the quick fires, do you have a cap on student numbers?
No, short answer is no. It is get your application in as soon as you can. There does come a point in the year where we have to finalise numbers and training contracts and things with TAFE. But our position is we would like to grow CathWest to be as big as it can possibly be. So and if that meant we had to run courses on a different day and build a new flexible day in and a new trade training day in, we would. But we really do need those applications in as soon as they possibly can come in, and that allows us to have our enrolments, look at suitability, and then start negotiating training contracts with our partners.
Thank you, John. A question in relation to fees. There's quite a number of them. If you head to our college website, there's some information there on the current 2020 fees, and that will give you an indication of what the fees will be like for next year. I'll just jump to you really quickly, Kathy, just to add to that.
Sorry, Sam. No, that's excellent. Yep, I can't add anything further to that. Go to the website and you will find the 2020, 2021 won't be very different.
Thank you. John, just a quick question around apprenticeships and the support to obtain an apprenticeship when they're in our college. What support do we provide students in obtaining that apprenticeship or a traineeship?
Okay. Yeah, and this is one of the big things. We do put that onus back on the student, and the student, I don't mean mum and dad, it's the student. What I mentioned earlier is we have a school-based apprenticeship, and this is where the support begins. We have a school-based apprenticeship information session around November. That usually happens. It's the time when students who are graduating year 12 have usually finished exams or about to wrap up exams. And I know that's the time employers are starting to look for first year apprentices, or they're looking for people to start traineeships. So that's where we ask students to come along with their parents, and we go through what's the requirements of a school-based apprenticeship are, explain the program in a lot more detail, explain that calendar in a lot more detail. And that's where we ask, that's where we say to students, it's now time to start knocking on doors, making phone calls, sending emails, all of those sorts of things. What support we can provide then is looking at resumes, giving you those tips and tricks. But we find the real success does come from the student themselves going out and looking for it. You might start with family connections and all those sorts of things. People you know, it might be football coach, netball coach, somebody that you have a connection with that might know a bit about the industry. My advice is to stay away from close family friends, because sometimes, you know, like with any job, there are things that do come up, and it's always nice to sort of separate friends and business and employment and all those sorts of things. But they're a great place to start. So our support is there. We often, you know, as the years have gone on with the trade training program in the diocese, we are starting to get employers, particularly after we're winning awards and different things, or the students are winning awards. We do get employers come to us, and we're getting a bit of a repeat business. So we always share that, those links with students as well. And a lot of the times it's just trying to find the right student for the right employer. So yeah, that's how we can support students in finding that. But I will stress that we're not a job agency. We do, and we'll go through this at interview, we go through it at the apprenticeship information session, that we don't provide the jobs. We're here to assist, we can guide, and but I would really encourage that parents aren't the ones getting on the phones and ringing up, or guardians, because you know, you all have jobs. You're not going for the job to be an apprentice plumber or a childcare worker or a chef. It's your sons and daughters that are going for those jobs, and they need to be able to build up a bit of confidence and have a go at applying for those things. But I understand that's not easy. So I suppose that's where our support comes in. It's the coaching, it's the helping them write scripts, it's all the different things that we can do to support students in that way. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, John. There's so many questions. I just wanted to point out that we are getting very close to the end of our time for this live event this evening, and wanted to reassure any of you that have put the questions forward that if they haven't been answered tonight, it's probably because they're not necessarily generic. They're more related to your specific question, and we will be able to download all of these questions at the end of this evening and make contact with you if you registered for this event and provide you with an answer. If you didn't register for this event and we don't have your email address for one reason or another, or you know of someone out there who would probably benefit from having a conversation with us, like John mentioned before, we do encourage you to come out, make contact with us, and we will definitely be able to give you some assistance in the one-on-one discussions related to yourself, your child, and what the needs are there. One question in relation to business/retail. John, does this cover anything, and financial services, all of those being light trades, are they linked in any way possibly to other industries such as real estate and those sorts of things?
Yeah, great question. Absolutely. I think that's where that business services credential is just, every single business has has some form of business administration linked to it. Then obviously, depending on the size, depends how many workers are involved in that section. So we've had a number of students over the years who have those passion areas. I've had students that want to work in interior design. We've had students that have wanted to work in real estate, have gone and picked up a business traineeship in those fields as well. So another one is the information digital technologies area. It's sometimes a bit harder to get the traineeships in those areas, but the business traineeship has allowed someone get their foot in the door. And again, sometimes the students that have been focusing on financial services have completed the financial services certification at the school, but picked up the employment in the business services area of a financial institution.
Thank you, John. Quick question. So this is for either of you, probably, maybe John, just really quickly, can the students pick what day they go to their trade training or work?
Generally, no. It's those days have been set aside. Sometimes we swap the day, the trade training and the delivery day gets swapped because that's what TAFE might have available for some of those trades that are outside. In saying that though, we have students that do opt, or that's where the employment, there'd be no way we'd deny a student a job, like the opportunity to work as an SBAT because of the day of the week. The only one we can't be too flexible on is the trade delivery, because that's when the class would be contracted to run. So for argument's sake, carpentry is on a Tuesday, student needs to be in the class on a Tuesday for carpentry. But yes, we'll be flexible around any of those other days. It just means a student would come to school to catch up on work. But as the last 6-7 weeks has shown us, and I'm so proud of the students of CathWest, we can do things remotely. Tonight, we're delivering to you remotely. So we have a lot more flexibility, I suppose, than we've had in the past. And for the right students, they wouldn't need to come physically onto the school grounds if they're able to complete their work remotely. So certainly we'd support change of day if that's what the employer wanted. I would never want to deny a student opportunity to have the school-based apprenticeship because of our timetable couldn't accommodate it.
Thank you, John. We are running out of time, and whilst I'm seeing lots of brilliant questions and ones that many people would benefit from, I know that John and I, after having, John, Kathy and myself, after having the first information session, we are hoping to have a page for you that is frequently asked questions and answers. So we really appreciate these questions coming through. Even if we haven't had the opportunity to answer them tonight, we will, within the next week or so, have something up on some form of electronic platform for you to access from home, where all of these answers will be available to you. I think there's nothing necessarily hugely pressing that's been repeated many times. Those have all been asked. So Kathy, I'll jump to you. Is there anything that you would like to end with tonight?
Just to return to where I began about being informed, I think it's wonderful that you've registered for this event. It shows me, it shows us that you are thinking and you're contemplating your future. So I certainly encourage you to continue doing that, to continue asking questions, to check the website frequently, check what the enrolment timelines are able to provide us. We're hoping, for example, to be able to engage with some small group tours for next term. If you are in one of our schools within the diocese, you'll be having someone either come physically or virtually to talk with you, with Year 9 and 10 students. So that might be another avenue for some questions. And I guess the last thing is that I wish you luck in whichever pathway at whatever school you choose. Good luck.
Thank you, Kathy. John, is there anything you'd like to end with?
Yeah, just a reminder that we will send out this link to the presentation, but more importantly, and I think probably a lot of those questions might be around the school-based apprenticeship stuff. So there will be a fact sheet that will definitely be coming out to you tomorrow, and it will also go back up on the website as well. And yeah, as Kathy said, informed choices, that's what it's about.
Fantastic. Thank you, John. Thank you, Kathy. And finally from me, if in doubt, make sure that you grab as much information as you possibly can. We have some wonderful staff at CathWest who have lots of answers to your questions. And if they don't, they'll pass it on to someone who does, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So if you have any questions around what career pathway you are hoping to explore, unsure as to whether it's an inquiry or a trade pathway, please make contact with us. Please ask the question. We'd love to either give you a personal tour or have a conversation with you and your child about what it is that you would like to do here at CathWest. So finally, thank you very much. I would normally, if we were in person, say have a safe journey home, but you're already there. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely night, and hopefully we'll see you next time, maybe in person. See you later. Thank you.
All right.